It's episode 500 of the Daily Drop, so I'm going to talk about the past, present, and future of the channel. So let's go. All right, fine people of the interwebs, here we are, and unbelievably, I am at episode 500 of this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday series that I started almost 2 years ago. And on a hot, sweltering day in Arizona, I sat there with my iPhone and stared into that camera and started what has become this series. And the reason I started it, and it was not the first time in my life I had ever done a daily series, is because at that time it was important to me to be able to scratch that creative itch that I had that is of a lifelong learner and learning more about video production, filmmaking, storytelling, content creation, and then sharing that with you as the viewer. Because along with my professional career as a producer, director, DP, I have also had a parallel path career as an educator. And I felt coming out of COVID and everything else that was happening that I wasn't connecting with that side of what I love to do, which is education. And so the Daily Drop was really not an excuse, but a good reason for me to actively learn and share, and also to be able to share the professional projects that I was doing for the clients when I could. And that's been great. It's also allowed me to rekindle relationships with past companies and individuals. I have worked with new companies and individuals who I now work with. And of course, the most important part of having a channel like this is you, the community. So having a community, organically growing that community, having that engagement, that's where, besides what I'm learning and sharing, that's where I'm getting the most out of what I'm doing here. The present. In the last, I'm going to say 2 to 3 months, I've seen that my interests and also where things are going with our industry as a whole has started to shift. And I say start to shift, that's the wrong way to say it. There's a seismic shift happening, and it's not going to affect every single person that's out there related to video production, filmmaking, content creation, but it's going to affect a lot of us. Some of us a little bit, some of us a lot. And the component of that is hopefully built upon all of that knowledge and the skills that we have related to the tech and craft of video production and filmmaking is generative AI. Not AI as a total subject, but the idea of being able to generate images and video-based content, audio, that can stand on its own or be used alongside our traditional techniques and the things that we do in production. So from my standpoint as a Gen Xer, I still have a lot of years ahead of me in terms of doing what I'm doing, telling stories, content creation, so on and so forth. I don't want to stop doing that. And sure, I could go into a little bubble and I could just create content the way I've always created it. But change is always going to happen. The difference is that right now it's happening at lightning speed. These tools that are available to us are changing all of the time. And for me to continue on with the Daily Drop as a daily series doesn't make a ton of sense at this point in time, because there are rabbit holes that I want to go down still as a lifelong learner. And I am going to need to figure this stuff out in a way that when I share it with you, that it is meaningful. It's well thought out. And if I just try to spit out a daily series 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I don't feel at this point in time with what's happening that I'm going to be able to create what I think is going to be meaningful content. And it's also going to take away from some of the time that I need to figure this stuff out. So what does that mean? it means exactly what you think it does, which is that episode 500 is the last episode of the daily drop, but there's more stuff coming. Is it going to be the weekly drop? Is it going to be analog 80s from analog to digital to Gen AI? Is it going to be something else? I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't mean I'm going on a hiatus for a long period of time. It does mean that I want to learn something that I can actually use with what I'm doing professionally, and then I can share that with you. And if you've been following along in the last couple of weeks or so, it's definitely heavily bent on generative AI. I don't think that's going to be the whole story. I think it's going to be how our traditional ways of doing things and these new ways of doing things are going to converge, and how to do that effectively. It's the Wild West out there right now. I think we are going to leapfrog a lot of technology that we thought was going to be where production was going. And what I mean by that is when we take a look at something like virtual production, I don't think it's going to necessarily look like the Mandalorian way that we think it's going to be, or we thought it was going to be. I think that these tools having to do with generative AI and some of the other things that are happening will leapfrog a lot of that stuff. And we're going to be doing virtual production, but we're going to be doing it out of 10 by 20, 20 by 20 rooms with gray screens and using components of environments that we create using generative AI. Will it still be an Unreal, Blender, Nuke, and, convergence of a volume type of situation? Sure, it will be for certain types of productions, but I think lots of productions are going to do virtual production and generative AI and traditional production and those convergences of all of those things in a very different way than we may have thought they were going to be done. So that's where my interest lies. My interest lies in the future, in where small to no crew production is moving, both for creating content for yourself and for clients, and both for things that are nonfiction and fiction based. So we have now, and we have available to us amazing tools. What was very scary to me as an overall subject, talking about AI and machine learning, when I start to dive into generative AI, becomes a realization that, legal conversations aside, in terms of intellectual property, copyright, things like that, that these tools can allow us to have access to and create things visually that we never could have done before. Because in order to do those things, which is historically true in any industry as it evolves, those things were unaffordable. We couldn't afford the $1 million+ locations, the 300+ crew members to do a Marvel movie, the huge post-production pipeline for visual effects and animation and world building that has existed and still exists for very high budget content that's being created for television and for theatrical release, and also for web-based release. So it's obvious that generative AI will and is already impacting stock imagery, stock video, and commercial production. Now, with continuity and start end frames and storyboarding, it's going to become just another tool that, if you want to go along for at least part of this ride, I think I'm going to be starting to integrate into the work that I'm doing. So again, I don't think that this channel is going to be the Gen AI channel, but I do think there's, in the future, the near future, maybe the long-term future, a thread of that component in what I'm talking about. But we're still going to be talking about, or I'm still going to be talking about, traditional production as well. Thank you so much for being a part of this community and engaging. I hope you continue to do that. And as I release new episodes, please keep that engagement with the channel and what we're doing. The goal will still be education, 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 learning how to actually do this stuff so it can be applied in the real world to the stuff that you're doing. So There you go. It's exciting and sad at the same time to say this is the last episode of the Daily Drop. I think that I know it's the right time for this series to end, and I'm very much looking forward to what comes next. This channel is not going away. The content's not going away. It's just the regularity, not 5 days a week, but probably weekly change that will happen, and also just sort of the focus. So stick around. You'll see what happens. So will I. Don't forget to. And I'll see you on whatever the next series or episode is. Thanks for watching.